What's going on, guys? This is Mart's Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls PvP. Alright guys, we're back at it again for another session of the Battle of the Build series. Now, before we get started, I'd like to offer my thanks and show of appreciation to good old Big Tada, and he's from Xbox. Now, Tada and I have had a number of matches in the past, and I think one that you guys may be familiar with is the video titled "A Soldier Among Generals," right? Wherein it was me versus, actually I can't say me versus them, right? Because we were all playing with each other. But it was me with Tata and Elite, all having a series of friendly matches. Now, in that series, I was doing pretty well against Tata. Right, we both had our normal builds, nothing special, and basically I guess he's like, oh, okay, well I know what to do with you, dude. So he brings out the Leo ring. Right, so this is basically Tata's Leo ring build. Now, to the extent that you guys are not familiar with what the Leo ring is or what it does, number one, you get it from good old Ornstein over in Anne Orlando boss fight. So to the extent that you first kill Smo and Ornstein second, you will be awarded the Leo ring. Now, what does it do? It basically increases, or actually it gives a critical modifier to counterattack damage. Right, so you get more of a benefit with counterattacks. Now, to the extent that you guys are not familiar, I have a counterattacking with Leo video. So if you guys are not familiar with the counterattacking with Leo, go ahead and check that. I think that's a two-part series. I know it's definitely a multi-part series. You can go ahead and check it out, where I talk more about the Leo ring and I demonstrate the potential for the Leo ring and the damage that it can inflict. So, now, you know, I also have Leo ring builds, but, you know, with me also having a Leo ring build, I didn't want to turn this thing into basically a counter-attacking match, because that's all it would have turned into, right? Because, I mean, for the most part, with the Leo ring, the only thing you're doing is looking for counterattacks. I mean, there's really nothing special about it. You just basically are looking for counterattacks, and for which, to the extent that you're able to land a good one, you'll get a huge benefit from landing those counterattacks. So, I mean, for the most part, whenever you're faced against someone who's using like a S-stock or a Boulder side sword, I mean, it's really nothing special outside of them just looking for good R2s, depending upon what weapon that they're using, to counterattack you with. So basically, I mean, to the extent that you can sustain a hit and attack at the right moment, you will basically kill your opponent after a few hits. And actually, I put forth an effort to demonstrate that on several occasions during my counterattacking with Leo series. Alright, so that's basically it. I didn't really want to go Leo for Leo. I mean, I could have, but because the emphasis was placed on him showcasing the build and not myself, I just figured that I would go ahead and play straight up. And actually, I think that was a big mistake on my end, because, I mean, unless you're just one of those awesome guys, I mean, anyone who's playing straight up against someone who has a critical attack modifier, I mean, you're basically screwed. Right? I mean, you're basically screwed. I mean, because think about it. Let's just say we hitting each other one for one, even on the attacks. To the extent that he's able to get counterattacks, he's going to beat me first. First, assuming that we both have the same amount of vitality, for which I'm not sure. I say all that to say that you will definitely get a huge benefit, see? And those hits, I can guarantee they're hitting like for 600 or so. Whereas just a regular hit on my end is just going to hit for somewhere in the 400. So even if we're going attack for attack, the fact that he can counterattack at the right moment will almost guarantee him a successful victory. Right, and we're going to see that on multiple occasions. As a matter of fact, I think he beats me. As a matter of fact, He beats me the vast majority of the time. Now, had I had to do this all over again, I would probably just go ahead and go Leo for Leo. But like I said, with regard to the Battle of the Build series, the focus is not necessarily on who wins the most. It's showcasing builds so you guys can see the potential. It's basically the point. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to go ahead and go with them with the Leo ring. I'll just go ahead and let him showcase the benefits, and I'll deal with it that way. And actually, for a few matches, I actually used my Leo ring as well. But like I said before, after a few matches of doing that, I said, you know what? I mean, this is not about me, right? I mean, it's not about me. It's about him showcasing the Leo ring. So I'll just go ahead and let him do it. But this is my having a stab at the Leo ring. Alright, so let's talk builds. To the extent that you guys are familiar with Big Tada, he's basically well known for using those onion head builds, right? And that's what he's using. I'm pretty sure he has several variations, most of which is rocking the Katarina helm. Alright, so that was just me using my Leo ring. Hit me off with a good parry right there, and we're back at it. I think this is a second variation. It looks like this will be his great sword variation, for which he is using a great sword and what appears to be, I don't know if that's a parrying dagger, or I'm not really sure what it is. Now, one thing that I do know about his usage of the great sword is that he does a lot of those rolling R1s. The tricky thing about it is he's not locked on when you do it, so even though you think you can parry him, in some cases you'll get inflicted with damage because he's actually not even locked on to you, right? And actually I had to realize that personally on a number of occasions. Alright, and actually he is using the great sword slash what is that, a rapier? Or yeah, great sword slash rapier variation. He's gonna do a good job with that. Alright, so actually when we were having these, you guys notice that? That's like a third of my vitality. 1/3 with just one hit. And that's the potential that comes with the Leo ring. Now, unfortunately, you can't really see the damage. I mean, at best, you can see my vitality meter going down. But like I said before, if you guys go ahead and check out my counterattacking with Leo video, you'll see me using the ring, and you'll be able to see the potential damage to the extent that you are already not familiar with the Leo ring. Alright, so I'll go ahead and get some one-hand pokes in there. And it looks like he's using very little poise. Now I'm not really sure what kind of gauntlets he's using, but I can definitely tell from the leggings that he's using little to none. You guys notice that? He goes from pointing, actually facing away from me to facing to me, because basically he's doing those unlocked rolling thrusts. So, you know, because he's using the Leo ring, I didn't really want to experiment with a lot of those parries. And actually, I really get a little defensive whenever I play some of these hard-hitting builds. Case in point, when I had the series of matches between myself and good old Elite's Mandragon build. It wasn't that I was intimidated from his tactics, you know, because, I mean, the tactics were the tactics. But at the end of the day, if you guys are familiar with that video, at Dragon Roar 3, you get like a 33% damage increase. In addition to that, in some cases, he'll switch off to the red Tearstone ring. So think about it. You get the benefit from the Roar, plus 3, for which in some cases 2 hits would knock off like 700 damage. And then on top of that, you know, he's really good for running off and switching off to the red Tearstone ring, for which that's another critical modifier. So like I said before, whenever I'm faced against builds like these, may it be a mage, may it be one of these builds that will get, you guys notice that that was 749, and that just shows some of the potential. But like I said before, I only use my Leo ring for a few of the matches, because like I said, the focus was not really on me using it. It was basically focused on him using it. So yeah, like I was saying, whenever I'm faced against these type of builds that have high critical modifiers, may it be a bonus from a Dragon Roar, may it be a Leo ring, I play especially defensive, because I already know that one mistake could be my death. Right? One mistake could be my death. So it is definitely hard trying to play against some of these builds that have an additional critical modifier. Alright, so we're back at it again. So this time, this is his third variation, for which he is using the Black Knight Halberd. And to the extent that you guys were not already familiar, the Black Knight Halberd also gets a benefit from the Leo ring. Now, from what I have heard, I think it's Newtoff or somebody like that, will be coming up with a Leo ring video sometime soon. And basically I got that news from visiting the chat just yesterday. They were just talking about it. I guess there was a private discussion between a few guys, and you know, someone took the time to go ahead and put forth some demonstrations on the Leo ring. So if it's not already out, go ahead and look out for it, because it should be out sometime soon. Right, and I guess it's just basically a video that clear up some myths and add some information that may or may not have been known already from the user. Alright, so we're back at it. Now, this Black Knight Halberd is definitely a dangerous weapon. I mean, I know that personally because I use it myself. You just kind of hacking away at me with that Black Knight Halberd. And actually, the bad thing about using the Leo ring is, you know, to the extent that someone is trading with you, anyone who's using a Leo ring, that's exactly what they want you to do, right? Because trading hits with a Leo ring will more than likely get you a critical hit. And to the extent that you, I mean, I'm sorry, not a critical hit, but a counter hit. And to the extent that you are able to hit a counter, you will get the damage. So that's why in a lot of cases, if you are faced against someone who's using, you know, a halberd with a Leo, or a Balder side sword with a Leo and that stock, or some of these other weapons, they are looking to trade weapons, trade hits with you, right? So it's probably not in your best interest to try to go toe to toe against someone who's rocking one of these combinations. Now, somebody may say, dude, how in the world am I supposed to know that I'm faced against someone who's using a Leo ring? Well, first off, just pay close attention to your vitality bar. That's what I would say. Because in most cases, at least based upon my experience, and I say that because I've used a halberd a lot. Let's just say the halberd, for example. In most cases, with 28 strength and 40 dexterity, a halberd two-handed will inflict somewhere around 415 to 450 damage. 450 being on the high end. Now, keep in mind this also depends on the type of armor that you have, but I'm just saying, basically, for the most part, that's what I have experienced, and I use the halberd a lot. Somewhere around there. So if you notice that, you know, you're fighting against someone with a halberd or a Balder knight, or a Balder side sword, and they're hitting you, and like a third of your vitality is gone after like one hit, I mean, just assume that it's a Leo ring. One other example. I don't know if you guys have just recently paid attention to the video that I had with myself versus Dark Lord Sin, wherein we were both using buff builds, and I was using the Leo ring in that video. Now, if you guys pay attention to that video, a lot of the bonus that I got from those attacks were all Leo ring. Now, granted, I did have a benefit from using a buff, but for the most part, I mean, I was hitting that guy for like 700 damage, and it wasn't just because of the buff. Most of that was because of the Leo ring. right? So, I mean, I don't think anyone can really say anything against the Leo ring because it is basically um, an item that almost gives you the benefit, well, not as much as a Hornet ring, but it gives you a pretty significant bonus without having to rely on backstabs and parries. Right, so that's pretty much it. Now, so let's just go ahead and talk about some strengths and weaknesses. There's basically no weaknesses. Other than you not knowing what a counterattack is and when you should counterattack. I mean, that's probably the only weakness that I can think of. Because, you know, and actually there's a video out there with this guy. I can't think of his name, but he's talking about using a Leo ring, right? And he's using spears. But he was using like a demon spear. And granted, you may get a benefit from the physical attack from the demon spear, but you really don't see the real potential from the Leo ring because, I mean, it's basically a physical plus lightning weapon. So in other words, unless you know, either don't know what a counterattack is or don't know how to do one, or unless you are using a weapon that doesn't really get a huge benefit from the Leo ring, there's really no way you can go wrong. Now, one thing that I would suggest is probably to have a pretty sufficient amount of poise, so that in some cases you will be able to trade hits. But I mean, it is also not necessary because I don't think he has more than, you know, I don't think he has poise somewhere in the 50s. I think he's somewhere in the 30s. Right, because I know a lot of these guys on this thing about having only 30 poise. So I'm pretty sure just by looking at his equipment, he probably doesn't have that much poise. Because also keep in mind that the Black Knight Halberd is 14 units. And I don't really see a shield, and actually I think he's using a dark hand. So, I mean, even if 14 units, that's still pretty heavy. Right, so 14 units or not. Taking his build into consideration, you know, it's not like he can go ahead and equip himself with a heavy load and still fast roll, right? Because I mean, I have my own Leo ring variation, and you know, yeah, some of them fast roll, but they definitely do not have 53 poise, right? So unless he's kind of using a wolf ring for which he's not, or something like that, you should really be careful with regard to your armor selection and the Leo ring. Alright, now, what are the pros to his build? I mean, the pros are everywhere. Because for the most part, like I said before, you are getting a huge benefit from timing your counterattacks. I mean, that's basically it. You can't really go wrong. You know? And like I said before, even if you just are evenly matched, same amount of vitality, same stats, same armor, if you trade hits, you will always lose against a Leo ring user. Because like I said before, they will get a huge benefit from counterattacking, wherein you will not. So that's basically the pros and cons to using a build that has the Leo ring with it. Alright, so enough about his build. Now me, nothing really special about my build. I mean, mainly because this is Xbox. I only have 2 builds on Xbox because, well, not really because, but, well, I guess it is. Number one, I'm new to Xbox, right? I just got my Xbox on just after Christmas. I think it was like the 26th where I got it. And number two, I'm just not really all that comfortable with the Xbox controller, right? So wherein I am pretty good with my pure melee builds on Xbox, I have a really hard time with my caster builds. So that's why I basically only have 2 Xbox builds. One is my dexterity and the other is my strength, and that's about it. Right, so there's really nothing fancy about my builds. The first ones that you guys saw was my dexterity build, and this is basically my strength build. And actually I've used this build so much I don't really think I need to review any pros or cons or strengths or weaknesses, because I mean it's basically a build that is able to use most strength. See, that was a counter hit right there. My strength build is basically able to use a lot of the lighter strength weapons, you know, kind of like the large club, Black Knight, Great Axe, and some of these other ones that are 18 units and lower. Whereas my dexterity build is basically same thing: 28 strength, 40 vitality. I mean 20. Man, I'm getting this all mixed up. 40 strength. Man, I'm sorry. 28 strength and 40 dexterity, which will enable me to one-hand the Murakumo, which is the heaviest of dexterity weapons. So, I mean, basically, with regard to being able to use weapons, my options are limitless. And with regard to my strength build, I mean, I have a lot of variations that I can use with that. All except some of those super heavy weapons, you know, kind of like the, you know, some of those weapons that are like 24 units and up. Right? You guys notice that? Just 2 hits took 2/3 of my vitality, and that's basically all Leo Ring counter damage. Alright, so that's about it. That is definitely about it. Those are the pros and cons to my builds. You guys obviously can see the pros and cons to his build. Really nothing to it. So hopefully after watching this video, you guys will kind of, and I can't really say you kind of, because like I said before, I've done a few features with the Leo Ring in the past, and I'm pretty sure a number of people have been motivated to use it. Right? So like I said before, this is one of those situations where, I mean, you really can't do anything, because once you get counterattacked, you're done, dude. You're basically done. I don't know how many times I was hit with a counterattack and just 1/3 of my vitality is gone. It's ridiculous. But I mean, can't really say it was ridiculous because I knew that already. Right? So it is what it is. Alright. So we get a nice BS right there. And you guys can tell I'm kind of using my partisan. And actually I thought I would have poked him right there, but I missed. So I'm going to go ahead, back off a little bit and grass up. Pull out my high-speed halberd. And basically, oh, okay, got a parry right there. So we're good to go, although he is still alive. And actually, I don't know why I didn't do that a little more often, because on a lot of these rounds, I mean, some of his attacks were predictable, right? But see, that's kind of one of the things that I'm able to observe after shooting and during the commentaries, right? I'm able to see some of the mistakes that I've made and some of the things that I could have done a little differently. Alright. Okay, I don't know how that happened, and actually that has happened on a number of occasions. And you know, I don't know if that's a counterattack. I don't know what that is. That's probably just a glitchy visual. But I mean, I've noticed that on a lot of occasions, not only in my own experiences, but watching other videos. Well, alright, this is pretty much it. And actually we had, I don't know, probably about 6 more matches, but it's basically just some of the same thing. Me getting beat down with all these counterattacks, right? So, like I said before, thanks again to Big Tada for demonstrating his Leo Ring capabilities. And oh yeah, once again, if anyone out there has any unique build ideas and you feel like you may want to showcase them, go ahead, shoot me a message, guys. Ensure that you are detailing the build. You're telling me and demonstrating why it's unique. And if I think it is a unique build, I'll go ahead, contact you, and we can set something up. Alright guys, well you guys can go ahead and watch this last match. Thanks again, Tada, for your participation. Thanks everybody for watching and supporting the channel. Well, until next time, Martyrs Brigade is